Yo, Ree, how you going? You with us?
Yeah, good, Nico. I'm just running a little bit late in the cab at the moment.
No, that's all right. We've got a bit of time up our sleeves. We've got Justin Gelband with us today. Justin's an American celebrity fitness and model fit trainer who focuses on functional training, balance, stability, Pilates, everything, you name it. This guy has the goods.
This guy has trained just about every celebrity that you can think of, from Leonardo DiCaprio to Taylor Swift to Miranda Kerr. But then he's now getting into the sports side of things as well. And he's out in Australia at the moment, making his mark on a few AFL players and some basketball stars, and trying to get into the sports world a bit more as well, because it's one of his passions, which I'm pretty sure we're about to hear about.
Yes, yeah, I reckon we will be. So sit back, grab a handful of walnuts, a protein shake, and prepare to be motivated by Justin's incredible story. Once Ray gets back here, we'll be on with the show.
Be there soon.
See you, buddy.
Good morning, Mr. Bassett. This is your wake-up call. Please move your ass.
So welcome to the podcast, Justin.
Thank you so much for having me. So exciting.
Good to have you here. Good to have you in Australia.
Yes. Hey, it's a dream, you know, when you're in your geography class and you're looking at all the places in the world that you wish you could go to, and Australia pops up and you're like, wow. You know, you talk about the kangaroos and going to the Great Barrier Reef, but you know, it's a dream, and so I'm living my dream right now.
Is this your first time in Australia?
Yeah. It's unbelievable.
How have you found it?
It's different, you know. It's, you know, Sydney, I would say, is a mix between Miami and Los Angeles, and Melbourne is, I would say, the New York. Just the way that people are dressed and their attitudes and the way they are. But it's been an incredible experience. I've been here for a short time, but going on a beautiful 17,240 step walk with Alicia from Bondi Beach to the end was just out of this world.
Amazing. Have you seen a kangaroo yet?
No.
There's plenty around. You probably don't want to see them. Where we live in Mildura, yeah, kangaroos are everywhere.
I actually learned something new too. I didn't know that they had saltwater crocodiles.
Yes.
Crocodiles that actually swim in the ocean. That's pretty insane.
You've heard all the stories about Australia.
Yeah, of course. You have the
Every animal we have is out to kill you.
So where do you come from, Justin?
I'm a mutt. I grew up in New Jersey. I lived there until I graduated from college. Moved out to LA. Lived in LA from 1997 to 2006. Brought myself back to New York City, where I was there for 13 years, and now I am living in Brazil.
Oh, Brazil. How's Brazil?
Brazil is amazing. It's a place. In 2003-04, I was training a friend of mine named Adrian, who invited me to go to Brazil, and he's like, "Yeah, you know, I represent Sandy Jr., which are brother and sister who sing, and they're gonna have a concert out there. And how would you like to go?" And I'm like, "Brazil? Seriously?" He's like, "Yeah." So just make sure you go get a visa. Of course, for me, I waited to the last minute because it skipped my mind that I actually had to go get a visa. So I went down to the immigration office and pleaded with them. So they got me one in 48 hours, even though I had to pay $300. But I'll never forget the time that we flew in, and you're just looking over and you see Corcovado and Rio de Janeiro. You see the statue and you see Sugarloaf, Pão de Açúcar, and you're just coming down and you're just like, wow, this place is just fantastic. And, you know, I probably broke the record as many times I've been there. I've been there probably over 170 times.
Oh, wow.
Back and forth and back and forth. And I call Rio de Janeiro my home. It's a place that's so special to my heart. I know a lot of people have this inclination that Brazil is this dangerous place that you can't go. There's danger everywhere. It's the people, the culture, the food, the beaches. There's nothing like it. And it's crazy because being here in Australia, in Sydney, you can kind of compare it a little bit, because what I've seen so far from the beaches is just, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. And I'm a beach person. I'm a water person. I started swimming when I was 3 years old. I swam nationally and collegiately, and I owe a lot to my head coach who, God bless him, passed away, Jim Wood, but he really gave me the discipline and motivation to continue to thrive and drive myself to be the best that I can be in myself. And, you know, getting up every morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, you go to the pool, you swim from 5:30 to 7, and then you go to school, and then you come home and they swim from 4 to 6:30. And I'm like, listen, I've swam up until 20 years old as many laps as Michael Phelps, maybe not as fast as him, but you know, you're swimming 12, 15, 18,000 yards a day.
Yeah.
You know, it's like 5-6 miles a day. And I was a mid-distance swimmer, so I swam 200 fly, 200 back, and 400 IM. So you're really getting pushed every single day to be your best. And even at 10, 12 years old, you're swimming, you know, a mile butterfly or 2 miles butterfly, maybe not the whole way, but it's a lot. It's a lot, but it teaches you so much discipline. And I think that's really carried me through my life because I love what I do. I have a passion for my work, and it's given me the opportunity to be who I am.
Do you like swimming these days?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say when you swim for so many years, you kind of, it's not that you don't like it, but to get in and do more than, say, a mile or 2 miles straight, it puts a lot of pressure in your body when you've swam for so many years, for so many laps, for so many competitions. And like I said, I love it. I love scuba diving is one of my favorite things in the world to do. Going out to Fernando de Noronha in Brazil and going out and seeing the turtles and the sharks and so forth. And, you know, not this time around, but for sure the next time I come, I would love to scuba dive here. I mean, and it's one of my favorite things to do is to be under the water and see all the sea animals. And, you know, I did the Escape from Alcatraz triathlon in 2003. They drop you off right next to Alcatraz. And,
Oh, right on.
Yeah, and then you swim from Alcatraz to shore. And then you run 1.5 miles, you bike 30 miles, and then you run like a 7.5 mile boot camp. So that was one of my conquests that I was able to really feel like I accomplished something in my life after I was done with my swimming career. Because doing triathlons is so much fun, and you get to bike, and you get to swim, you get to run, you get to compete, and just have fun.
Yeah. Get a lot more out of it than just swimming every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
Tell us about how you got into training, Justin. How did it all begin?
Yes. How did you get the nickname the Supermodel Whisperer?
That's a nickname we've all been wishing.
The model whisperer.
Yeah.
Thank you, Guy Trebay from the New York Times for that. You know, when I graduated from college, I graduated in a 5-year degree with exercise science and sports management. And when I moved to LA, I said I was going to go out there and be the best trainer in the world that I could be, study physical therapy, get massage therapy certified, Pilates, yoga, boxing. I even took boxing lessons with a professional boxer for almost a year. You know, it's just learning everything about the body and really understanding what's necessary per body type, and per lifestyle, and what's going to make each individual be the best they can be, no matter if you're in a one-on-one session, a group session. You're really trying to give each and every individual that self-esteem, motivation, and discipline to be their best. And I started working at 24 Hour Fitness based on the fact that I was just training differently than everyone else. You know, I used a lot of tools that I learned from my swimming days. We had Rowdy Gaines and John Neighbor and all these people that came to do seminars at our club. I also got to swim at the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs for 6 weeks, which was, the air is rare. And when you're swimming in altitude, I don't want to say it's cheating, but for sure it's cheating, you know, and not in a bad way. It's just, you build such a cardiovascular shape that when you actually come down from altitude, that was the best I ever swam in my life. I remember that year I had qualifying for the zone all-star meet, and I was seated like 16th in the 200 back, and only because they had changed the back turn. I know, sorry, I paused for a second because I could still see myself. I should have won the race, and I messed up the last turn. And our coaches had told us to practice, and we practiced, but I didn't really get that much practice in it. But I was seated 16th, you know, going into the final night, and I got 3rd overall. And it just, I owe it all to the altitude training.
Yeah.
You know, I swam 8 seconds faster than I had ever swam in my life. And you don't understand that until you're in the pool. You're like, wow, this is crazy, because you're faster, you feel longer, you feel stronger, and your breathing is just incredible. And I think that everyone that gets the opportunity to train at the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs is given a gift, you know, and that's why I understand why all these athletes go there.
Yeah.
And so when I came out of school and I moved to LA, I was at this gym, 24 Hour Fitness, and I was just watching these overweight women running up and down the stairs, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, carrying heavy weights, doing all these crazy burpee, squat, push-up exercises that weren't even built for these women's bodies. And I said to the fitness director, I said, why are you allowing these people to do these exercises? First of all, there was like not spiral, but you go up, you go left, you go up, you go right. And it's like 8 stairs the one way, 6 stairs the other way, 8 stairs the other way. I'm like, why are you allowing these people to do this? You know someone's going to fall one day. Yeah. And, you know, everyone that was training at the gym at the time was either really big, muscular, bodybuilding type bodies, or just overweight people, or normal everyday people. You really didn't see people that were in crazy shape that were looking to get to where they wanted to, because the trainers weren't as qualified as I thought they should be. And so one day I called it out. I told my fitness instructor, I said, one day you're going to see one of these women fall. Boom. 2 days later, a woman just falls right down the stairs. And I went up to her. I said, listen, I know you've been bothering me to be a trainer for the last, 3, 4, 5 months. You've been watching me train. But if you want me to be a trainer, I want to train these women, and I want to work with these people. And if you allow me to, then I will do it. And that's how I kind of started my career. I got lucky because one of my first clients was a girl named Christy Pierce, who at the time was dating this Superman, Josh Duhamel, which all the women love so much. Super nice guy, incredible guy. And, he really helped me. We trained for Win a Date with Todd Hamilton. I trained him and Topher Grace.
Yep.
And at the time, they wanted me to put some muscle on both of them. And not that they didn't look good already, but, we got to train, and I got to use my skills that I had learned over the years. And Josh and Topher introduced me to so many different people. Introduced me to Anne Hathaway, Alicia Cuthbert. I got to meet Lindsay Lohan, who I trained for 3 years. I know a lot of people may speak negative about this woman, but trust me, one of the most talented women I've ever seen in my life. She was given a script one day. I trained her for a movie that she did with Jane Fonda, and they gave her different monologues to do, and she literally goes back in her trailer, comes back out, speaks the monologue the way that Gary, the director, had asked her, and he's, no, I want you to do it a different way. Goes back in the trailer, comes back, does it a different way, a different way. And it was incredible to watch. And I was like, wow, you really see the talent behind some of these actors and actresses when you work closely to them, because number one, you're in their trailer. Number two, you can, feel their energy. And number three, people just think it's easy. It's not, obviously it's a little bit easier than saying Broadway, where you only get one chance.
Yeah.
But you're always asked to do something different. And the fact that these individuals are capable of changing their movement and their words and what they do in a split second, it's talent. It's a lot of talent. And so over the years, I started working with these celebrities, but also working with, my first 3 years of my career, I worked with just overweight people, teaching about nutrition and cardio and using the swimming pool and, doing physical therapy and really watching how people's bodies move per body type and per lifestyle, but incorporating what you do in an everyday lifestyle. And so my clients started to get in really good shape. And in 2004, I suffered a car accident where a guy went through a red light, hit me. I ran into 6 cars, left me with 4 herniated discs in my lower back. It was a journey. It was a big journey. I couldn't walk for almost 2 years, and that's how I created my method of training. And through the method of training that I was doing, because I was playing with steps and reaches and pulls and pushes and squats and lunges that we do every single day, but relating it to a lifestyle. And so I took all the exercise that I had created and started using it with my clients. And before, I was doing similar functional movement stuff because I had studied under everybody. I went to every continuing education program that was available for me. I was only using bands in, resistance, small ankle weights, steps, and, Bosu balls and core boards and a reformer Pilates machine. And I was really trying to teach people how to get the mind-brain body connection with their bodies, and people's bodies just started to get in incredible shape. And so push 1 year later, I went to an event they had in LA with Ruth Bernstein, who was representing Josh as PR. And there was this young woman sitting on the floor wearing a straw hat, kind of being incognito. Her name is Angela Lindvall. And, I was introduced to her, and she's like, listen, I have a Sports Illustrated Victoria's Secret show coming up. Do you think you can help me lose my second baby weight? I said, yeah, it'd be great. And she was really into nutrition at the time, and she taught me a lot, actually, about nutrition. She was a raw food eater, and she was really focused on getting back to where she needed to. And, the business was already a hard, cutthroat business at the time. And, yeah, I trained a little bit, in the modeling industry, but not as much as I had liked, especially because at that time, Kate Moss was the most famous model there. And, being 5'7" and being 6 foot, it's a totally different ball game. And I don't think people understand that. And so depending on the photographers that you were shooting with, and depending on what kind of body you need to be, did you need to have a commercial body or a high fashion body or a runway body? There were so many different bodies, and you needed to try to tailor the exercises and the movement and everything towards the actual body that you were working with. And so we did it. 4 months later, she walked the Victoria's Secret show, and she looked unbelievable. And that's when I started getting phone calls from New York. And this guy named Scott Lips, who owned One Model Management at the time, was representing Angela. Hey, do you want to come and work in New York? I can really help you. It looks like you really like working with models. And at the time, there was such a preconceived notion of what models did in order to get in shape.
Yep.
Cocaine, alcohol, drugs, drinking soda, not eating, being anorexic, bulimic, all these kinds of things. And I said, you know what? I can change that. I can actually make women exercise properly, do the proper cardio, and be a lean, fit, toned, in shape size 2. And it's all a game, kind of, you look at some of these women that I've worked with over the years, and, when you go in as a woman and you have to be measured all the time, and you have to be looked at as from your toenails to your hair to what you're wearing, what you're doing, it's not easy. It's not easy. And I think that women just think that these individuals just take photos. And it's not like that at all. They literally are the supermodels that they are, and they train like Olympians, or I have trained them to be like Olympians. And they're the strongest, the leanest, the fittest, the tonest, and they work super hard, and they're always ready to be better. And I was saying to Ray the other day, it's all mental too. It's how can you get into their mind and really make them believe that they are these incredible women. And it's not just genetics. I'm going to repeat that. It's not just genetics. I'm so tired of hearing that. Yeah, you train Candace Swampole because everybody wants to look like Candace. Or you train Miranda Kerr, everyone wants to look like Miranda. Or you train Irina Shayk, everyone wants to look. These women work their asses off, excuse my French. They really do. They put in the time, they put in the effort, they want to be their best, they want to look their best. And each and every person, you have your haves and haves, right? 50%, I want to look like this person. No, you're never going to look like this person. Why don't you just look the best that you can be in your own body? Or I'll never look like one of them. They have all genetics. Yeah, obviously they have some genetics, but a lot of them were ballet dancers for 12 years. Some of them were professional gymnasts up until they were 16, 17. Some of them played, almost college basketball, college softball, college field hockey, college lacrosse. So they were at high elite levels for young women in sports growing up, and they had this beautiful look to them. So they got recruited from whatever agency or manager or agent, and that's how they got into the modeling business. But that doesn't mean that it's all genetics. They worked their butts off to get to that point. And after I went to New York, Scott introduced me to Miss Miranda Kerr, your Australian beauty, and I have to say, we worked together for up until this day that we speak right now. But we worked at that time for a good 9 months before the Victoria's Secret show. I had met her in January 2006 and 2007, And, at the time they said, oh, she's doing pink, she's doing VS. We would like her to put on a little bit of weight, blah, blah. And not that she needed to put on any weight, but just like a little bit of muscle and look, curvy and beautiful. But she already was. And we started together and we just became the best of friends. We trained 5-6 days a week, hung out together. She taught me a lot about nutrition. She was building her core at the time. And what a incredible woman. And she gave me my opportunity. She really paved the way for my career. Angela started it and Miranda paved it, because after that I started training Candace and Irina and Bahati, and it just started to grow and grow and grow. And then in 2012, back to what Ray asked before, this guy Trebe, who has written many articles for the New York Times, was training in the gym that I was training at. And he wrote this article for the New York Times that called me the model whisperer. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I'm not going to lie, I was training 15 to 20 models at the time. And it was funny because I would arrive at the gym every morning at 5:45. I would start at 6 a.m. and I would work till 9 p.m. And I would train 15 models back to 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 back.
Yeah.
And I did it for a good 6 to 8 years. Just literally, and each time that I was training more and more and these girls were getting into better and better shape, I would just get more clients and more clients and more clients. And to this day, I don't stick my nose in the air a little bit, but I know there's a lot of people out there, oh yeah, I train models for a living. I literally train models for a living. I train more supermodels than there ever was, period. And I say that with love and affection because it's not easy. I did 13 Victoria's Secret shows in a row from 2006 until the last show in 2018-19. And each year I had a range of 2-3 women in the beginning up to 15 women towards the end. And each girl had their own individual body type and lifestyle, mindset, outfits that they were wearing at the show. And each girl had to look their ultimate best. And they train like Olympians, and they really put in the time and the effort to be the best that they can be. And I studied the business as well. I went through watching the way the photographers shot, looking at all the magazines, trying to understand what they needed to do, how their positioning was, what their look needed to be, what their outfits needed to be, so that I could know what I was getting myself into, but also keep them motivated and disciplined and happy. And like I said, it's not easy. And these women are judged every single day. You walk out of the house, you have to look pretty. Every single day you go to a set, you have to be on point. Every single day you're flying from city to city, from job to job, from place to place, hotel to hotel. And it's a vigorous job.
Did you have set programs for each one?
Yes. I mean, because they're all different heights and they're all different sizes, and they require different mentalities and different physical and mental attributes, and you really have to break down each of them and teach them how to be their best in their own body. And I pat myself on the back now. I think during the time that I was doing it, for me, it was always work, and everyone always wanted to know what I was doing or be around the women. And I'm like, these are normal, everyday women. That's just their job as their supermodel, or their job as their celebrity. Or everybody in this world is their own celebrity, their own model. I created a gym in 2014 out of a basement training 5 people. I called it Model Fit. And everyone's like, oh yeah, it's a gym for models. No, I had a motto: be the best that you can be in the body that you yourself have been given, because every body is different and every body is different. So what's good for one isn't necessarily good for the next. So when you look in the mirror, you can be the model that you want to be in your own body. And everyone just turned it into, oh yeah, well, Justin only trains celebrities, he only trains models. No, I train people from all walks of life. I had the opportunity when I lived in LA to train 2 autistic kids, which was one of the most phenomenal experiences I ever had. I've worked with people with every type of injury, health condition, lifestyle deficiencies, MS, Alzheimer's, cancer, HIV, everything. So for the fact that people were just picking on me all the time because I was showing up in all these magazines training superstars and celebrities, yeah, it was part of my career, but that doesn't mean that I was leaving everyone else out. I wanted to train everybody, especially as Ray and I have been discussing for the last few months, athletes. Yep. One of the biggest mafias in the world today is athletes. how do you get into the athletic world and how do you train athletes? Because to be honest with you, I've never seen more injuries and more health conditions and more lifestyle problems in the athletic world than I ever had in the last probably 4 to 5 years. It's because they don't train properly. And we can go on and on for hours and hours over this, but it's really the truth. It's, you have to train for your sport.
Yeah.
If you're playing cricket or you're, in the AFL or NFL or NBA or whatever it is, you have to train for your sport. So why is it in the NFL this year they have, 4 Achilles tendon surgeries going on for players that can't play right now? I'm a New York Jets fan. I know it's kind of crazy because everybody makes fun of me for being a Jets fan, but our quarterback got hurt on the 4th play in the first game of the season, out with an Achilles tendon tear. And listen, I'm not gonna pick on Aaron Rodgers. He's an incredible man, but I would say part of the problem is that he didn't build the mobility and stability in his body the way he should have, with the kind of techniques that I use, so that you won't tear your Achilles tendon, or you won't have a labrum tear in your hip, or you won't have herniated discs in your back. Now, obviously, if a 350-pound guy runs into you and falls on your knee or on your foot, that's a different story.
Yeah, you can't train for that.
No, but at the same time, you can train laterally, rotationally, mobility, stability, balance, and everyone's like, yeah, well, we do that stuff already. Okay, and you're doing crazy sled pulls, and you're doing just, squat racks and bench presses and so forth. And to watch some of these offensive and defensive linemen have knee surgeries year in and year out and year in and year out, it has to be injury prevention training. And I don't think that a lot of them do that. I don't think they do the proper warm-ups. A lot of times you'll go to different sporting events and you'll see the players laying down on the ground and the trainers pushing their leg back, or giving them massages. Or you're not supposed to warm the body down before you get on the field or get on the court. You're supposed to be already sweating, i.e. people like Novak Djokovic. If you look at him, that guy is insane. He's unbelievable. But he's going out on the court, he's already sweating because he's warming his body up to get ready to perform. And most of the professional athletes have been given God-given talent, so they're supermans all over the place, or even superwomen. But when you're watching, I'm a huge Chelsea fan for soccer, and I watch somebody like Reece James continually injuring his hamstring, or N'Golo Kante, who's now playing in Saudi Arabia, continually injuring their hamstrings. I'm like, this is happening because the training is not done properly. There's a way to train the body so that your thighs and your glutes are activating in a way that your hamstring is not being, taken brunt day in and day out. Or you have to train properly so that your ankles, a lot of these people in sports are getting clipped at their feet. Well, you have to teach them how to be not only quicker on their feet, but how to avoid these injuries. Now, sometimes you can if somebody's slide tackling you, but at the same time, the stronger you are, the more elusive you are, the better you will be.
Far out. You got it all sorted out.
Yeah.
Justin, you talk about a lot of the good times and the models and celebrities, but you went through a pretty tough time that you spoke about before with the car accident. Yeah, you had to get a prosthetic leg. Can you tell us a bit more about that time and what that was like?
Oof. Yeah. I think that one thing that people don't really know about me is my passion for my work and my passion for people and changing people's lives. Sometimes you kind of second guess yourself with everything that's been given to you. In 2004, I suffered a car accident. A guy went through a red light, hit me. I spun around. I hit 6 cars. I was He-Man for about 10 seconds because even the ambulance and the firefighters and everyone that came didn't even understand how I got out of the car. I guess 10 seconds of adrenaline really changes things. And that's how I created my method. And then in 2012, I was at a New Year's Eve party in Paraná. They have a club called Green Valley that we went to, and I just wasn't feeling well. And I was like, I don't understand what's going on here. How do I not feel so good? So I ended up staying at a Love Motel because there was the only place around within miles. I woke up the next morning, I couldn't walk. I had a little piece of bone that was chipped that was leaning against my sciatic nerve. And I went to the hospital. I met Dr. Jonas Lenzi, who I owe my life to. He he did all the surgeries over the years for me. And when I was rushed to see him in Curitiba, where I was, staying at the time, he did an MRI and found the little chipped bone, and I had a huge fight with my parents at the time. Like, no, you cannot do surgeries in Brazil. And this is where it goes back to people having this, preconceived notion that Brazil is this, dangerous place or so forth. Can I tell you, the worst medical people in the world, maybe not for cancer, but for most things, are in America. The best doctors in the world are outside America, and I'm not afraid to say it. And I was scared to have my surgery in America because I just think that it's more protocol, and I've watched it over the years. I got fortunate enough to study at the Gray Institute under Gary Gray and Dave Tiberio, who literally recreated physical therapy and literally taught us what physical therapy and applied functional science really is, and how to really look at the body and understand the body from a scientific purpose and basis and movement. And, the normal everyday physical therapy school you go to, it's all protocol. They don't even teach you what physical therapy is. Physical therapy is not laying on a table and pushing your leg back or pushing your knee back and looking and seeing how you can analyze the body without moving. Movement is the key to everything. Your foot rules your life. Once you understand how the foot moves, and once you understand how everything is a chain reaction and how the body actually works for yourself, you learn so much from it. And so I ended up doing the surgery in New York at the Hospital Special Services, and they just didn't do me right. And I couldn't move for another almost 4 months. And so I literally packed my stuff and I said, I'm out. And I went to Brazil. I had Dr. Jonas redo the surgery. He took out the hernia. At the time that I did the surgery, hernia wasn't done properly. They didn't sew me up properly. They didn't clean me out properly. And everybody's always raving. Yeah, the Hospital Special Services. Yeah, they're good in some ways. I know a lot of doctors who have studied from all over the world that have been there and have gotten incredible experience. But, when you're doing surgeries with people in their 50s and they're not qualified enough to continue to do the surgery in the right way, one thing I can compare medical doctors and physicians to trainers. And I know people would laugh, but if you're actually a really good movement specialist and you understand each and every body, it's the same thing with any type of surgeon. When a person does surgery on someone's body, they need to go in and actually do the surgery for that specific person's body.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, because you have some that are taller, they're smaller, they're wider, they're skinnier, they're, whatever it may be. Their injury is different. Just because you tear your Achilles tendon doesn't mean your Achilles tear is going to be the same as someone else's. Just because you do a labrum tear or you have to do any type of back surgery, hernia, or putting metal or whatever it may be, or prosthetic, they're all done differently, and so you have to do it per body that you're doing the surgery on. And so I really commended Dr. Jonas, because I always call him Doogie Howser, because at the time when I saw him, he was 33 years old, but he was such a knowledgeable individual that you sit with this guy for 15 minutes and you already knew this is the doctor for me. This is the guy who's going to change my life. And I had to from 2012 to 2017, I did 6 back surgeries. Now, I would say 3 of them were partially my fault because of the fact that after I had my herniation removed, the hernia came back because I had to rush back to work. At the time that I owned Model Fit, I had done 3 surgeries during the Model Fit days. And so you asked me, what's the trials and tribulations? Well, we opened the gym in March, and already in July I had to have a surgery because I was working 16 hours a day. And I was literally putting everything into this gym. At the time, you're training so much, you're working so much, and you're in pain, and you're on medication, and you're going through the craziest brain-body connection of, wow, can I actually do this? And then I would do the surgery, and then I would recover for 6 weeks, and then I would run back, and then I would teach again, and then I would, had all my clients and all these people that I had to, take care of. And then comes December again, and I herniated again, and then I have to go back. And Dr. Jones is like, Justin, when are you going to stop this? You can't do this anymore. So finally, in 2016, 17, right after the Victoria's Secret show that we did in Shanghai, I went to Brazil, and I stayed there for almost a year. I did the back surgery. I recovered from that. And then Whew, that's when things started to really be crazy because I was working so much. I would say I was training at a minimum 80 to 100 hours a week. I was training, the biggest celebrities and models in the world, executives, normal everyday people. I had a family that I was taking care of. I had a business that I was taking care of. And, one day I just couldn't walk. And I remember I went to the Gray Institute. You have 3 times during the year that you go to study there, you go and you do hands-on training. And I had studied there in 2012, and then I became a play coach mate, which means you go back and you help the other students that go. And and it was such an incredible experience. And I think that I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the Gray Institute and what I've learned and what I've been able to create from it. But again, it was a tool for me to be the best that I can be. And I remember going back and I said to Gary, I was like, I can't walk. And he did some, stabilization and mobilization on my hip. He's like, you tore your hip, you tore your labrum. So at the time I was, I just separated from, my ex and just had separated from my gym and had all these things going on and went and did the hip surgery with Dr. Saliba and another amazing, amazing man in Brazil. And, at the time he had told me, he's like, listen, I really think you should put the prosthetic in the leg. And I'm like, well, I can't afford to put the prosthetic in my leg. He's like, well, I think you should. And I'm like, okay. Well, at the time I didn't have the funds to do it. So I did the hip surgery first. And I got invited to do a group exercise event in London. And I went there and I was just like, okay, I can tackle this. I did 3 classes and I couldn't walk, couldn't move. I'm like, wait a second, I just rehabbed myself. I just did pool, rehab, acupuncture, massage, using every tool that I ever knew to make myself the best, but it just wasn't what it needed to be. And where your femur and your acetabulum and where your meniscus and everything everything's a chain reaction. Everything's, tied together.
Yeah.
My bone was just rubbing bone to bone, and I hadn't done an x-ray at the time. I had just done MRIs, and Dr. Saliba's like, yo, you need to do an x-ray. And when I did the x-rays, when he found out, he's like, yo, if you want to walk and you want to move, we're going to have to put this prosthetic in the leg. And again, I had just done the labrum because I couldn't afford it. And when I had gone to London, I was mortified. I was like, he was right. I need to do this prosthetic, and I don't know how I'm going to do it. And I went, I did the event, I tried to teach the classes, and I couldn't move, I couldn't walk. Just like I said, just separated from my ex, just lost my gym, and I was addicted to painkillers because I had what is this, the 8th surgery I had done in 5-6 years. And my mind was I was done. I was just done. So I went over to the London Bridge. I was looking over the bridge, and I'm like, I'm just gonna jump. I don't want to. What do I need? What do I need to deal with this anymore? What is life bringing to me but stress? In so many ways. And I was looking over, and there was like a police officer that was on the other side, and she started screaming, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I don't know. I startled myself. I woke up, because I was literally in a daze.
Yeah.
I was. She's like, you were gonna jump, and I'm like, yeah, I was. And she's but why? I'm like, I can't walk, I can't move, I can't work, I can't do anything. She's like, trust in yourself, trust in the higher power, and know that you didn't reach. And I told her the whole story about what we're talking about, the training and what I've been through. He's trust yourself, love yourself, just like you said to me about loving and believing and trusting yourself. You have to do it for yourself too. I'm like, yeah, but I feel like I'm never gonna get there. And I was so angry with my family for not helping me and putting me into this situation. And you find out who your true friends and your true people are when you're really down in the dumps. And so long story short, my beautiful aunt helped me, and I went back, put the prosthetic in my leg, and took me about another 9 months to recover. During that time, I gained 50 pounds. So when people say that, you only train skinny and super talented,
beautiful people,
and that you don't know what it's like to gain weight, and you don't know what it's like to be overweight. And I'm like, oh yeah, well, I know that acai con banana and granola doesn't do me really well, gaining 25 pounds eating acai all the time. But I gained 50 pounds.
Yeah.
You know, there's even a photo of me running on the beach with Miranda. You can see I'm overweight. But I pushed and I pushed and I fought, and I thank the higher power every day for giving me the opportunity to be sitting here with all of you today, because you know, everyone just thinks that I have this beautiful, easy, lucky life, and I've been through a lot. I've done 10 surgeries on my body. I have prosthetic in my leg. I have metal in my back. But I created a method of training that can change the world. It doesn't matter where I am or who I'm with, or I was given a gift to really be able to look at people's bodies and understand how people work. And I created a platform that hopefully in the next couple weeks will be coming out, which teaches you the basic foundations to movement, on how to activate your feet, how to understand your body. And then I have, you know, exercise and fitness for everybody, whether it's for kids starting at 6 going up to, you know, people that are 106. And what is it about? It's about understanding you, understanding how your body can really be the best that it can be as long as you understand you. And so all the motions and movements are changed. I never do the same step more than once, because in your everyday life, I always say, do you take the same step more than once outside? Well, if you don't do that, why are you going to do it in here? So that people that have this idea in their mind, oh yeah, well, I did 6 sets on the left side and only 3 on the right side. But are you a righty? Yeah. So how often do you use your right arm and right leg per day? All the time. Okay, so why shouldn't you give love to the left side? Why can't you do more exercises on one side and less exercise on the other? Oh, well, I'm going to be awkward, or
Lopsided.
my body's going to be lopsided. Exactly. No, that's not true, because exercise has to change, because your body always changes. You know, when I went to the Gray Institute, the first day that Gary and Dave did their little speech, they said, if you know more than 8 to 10% of your body, you're a genius. Because our body changes every second. It's all about movement. Unfortunately, the training in today's society is just built on social media and who you train and what you do and how you do it. It's not understanding each and every individual's body and what they actually need for themselves. What is their injury, their health condition, their lifestyle deficiency, their lifestyle, their genetics, their prior exercise or fitness regimen. What did they grow up playing? Sports? Are they sedentary and they're playing train, car? What do they do? You need to literally look at each individual and break that down. Even if you're in a group exercise class, how do people go to a group exercise class with already a written piece of paper? Yeah, or when I was in Bali, there was a big chalkboard one day when I went to the gym, and it had all the exercises written on there. I.e., somebody I met yesterday was talking about a program that was written out for them. How can you write out a program for them? You don't know what their mood is. You don't know if they're in a bad mood, a good mood, how their knees or their hips or their shoulders or lower back feel. You need to build the program when you see the individual. I'm not saying you can't give them certain videos or certain stuff that they can use, but to just write out a program, oh yeah, 15 burpees, 20 squats, 10 sled pulls, this and that. You don't even know who's in your class. How do you know that the person just didn't have an ACL tear and just recovering from a surgery, or have lower back pain, or have a shoulder problem or knee problem? They don't even know that. So you write it on a chalkboard so the person goes in and does the workout. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. People, I tell this story all the time. One of my friends owned a CrossFit gym in LA. One day I went into the gym and he's like, oh yeah, what are you doing here? I'm like, I want to see your class that you're teaching. He's like, nope, you're not allowed in here. I'm like, come on, dude, please. He's like, no. I'm like, listen, I want to teach one CrossFit class. He's like, Justin, you're going to destroy my whole business. I'm like, no, I just want to teach the whole CrossFit class. So I did my functional warm-up, and I saw all the tools that they had on the ground. And, they have these people jumping on these 2-foot box planks. And that person can't even jump on a 3-inch box plank. You have steps like the stepper, and then you have the risers. Yeah. So if you just put the step flat, don't you think that's where they should start from? So you have these people coming into these classes who've never jumped in their life, i.e. that's how you can really tear your Achilles tendon, or, separate something, or twist your knee, or tear your meniscus or so forth. And they have these people just jumping, or they're grabbing these bars and they're pushing it as fast as they can, or they're doing crazy burpees, or they're lifting kettlebells and swinging them up, and they don't even understand how to lift a kettlebell. No left, swing it up. So I'm just like, how are you teaching this class? So I literally took everybody back and I did the foundation to CrossFit. And when I left, I got like a standing ovation. And all the people that were in there that had been doing these crazy box jumps, that their knees were hurting, their backs were hurting, their bodies were hurting, like, why don't you teach CrossFit? I'm like, well, I don't live here, first of all. And second of all, I wanted all of you to see how you can actually do these kinds of exercises, but understand that you need to start from somewhere, and you need to understand the foundation, and you need to teach yourself how to jump properly. And instead of just jumping, maybe we should practice jumping and catching your momentum on the ground first, and then jump on a smaller step, and then build your way up. Not having these people go in there and start from level 10. You don't build a house from
the top down.
You build it from the foundation. So I have to say, and we have these discussions all the time, and we have, a lot of trainers that I know that are more movement specialists or physical therapists, or really have been through applied functional science and really understand the body. My business is turned into like a riffraff. It's embarrassing. Someone said to me the other day, well, do you know a trainer that you can introduce me to? And I said, well, besides gyrotonics and Pilates and yoga, no, I don't. I wouldn't give any of my clients to any trainer.
Yeah.
Because I don't trust anybody. I do in Pilates, I do in gyrotonics, I do in yoga. And yoga is another thing that, for me, if you don't understand how to do the stretching properly, you should not be doing yoga. And I know a lot of people love to do it, but you got to ease your way into it. There's so many different positions that people can't get themselves into, and the instructor's pushing their back into it or pushing their body into it, and then they hurt themselves. My partner's mother was doing a yoga class, and she threw her back out because the instructor pushed her, 70-year-old woman. She couldn't walk for 3 weeks. It's just like, everything is about Instagram. Everyone's about who you train, how you train. Yeah, if I used every single client that I ever trained in my life, from the biggest of the biggest, I would probably have 20 million followers. And I have a measly 27,800 followers. So for people to sit there and say to Justin Gelband, who I've trained the biggest people in the world, and this is where I will stick my nose in the air, how can you give campaigns and speaking engagements and seminars to people that have 1, 2, 3, 4 years of experience, who know nothing about the body, who don't have the same qualifications, who have basically postgraduate like I do, have 10 certifications, have studied a 5-year degree, been doing this business for 24 years, and yet because I don't use Instagram as a tool to show off the Taylor Swifts and the Leonardo DiCaprios and the Candace Swampoles and Miranda Kerrs and Irina Shayks and so on and so forth in this world, why does that make me unspecial? And it's really crazy because it's embarrassing that there's so many trainers out there that have so many thousands and thousands of followers but can't buy themselves out of a Cracker Jack box. And I'm sorry I'm being rude, I'm being honest, because I and some of my colleagues have been doing this business for so many years, and it's like a Broadway actress who literally gets one opportunity to get on there, and we've been driving around and you see like Miss Saigon and you see Les Mis and all these, they get one shot when they're on stage. So if they mess up a word or mess up a phrase, they have to ad-lib or improv so that they make sure that they don't mess up. And I'm not taking anything away from the most talented actors that I've worked with, because the difference. But some of these movies that are just movies that you see just for fun, some of these actors and actresses get 10, 15, 20 chances. You don't get that on stage. And it's the same thing in my business. It's when you go out there and you're trying to create and motivate and discipline and train, you don't always get more than one opportunity to train a big actor or a big model or so forth. And your job is to concentrate on them. Your job, when you come in to see Justin Gelband, you're there for 1 hour to train with me to get the best experience, to get the best in your body, not for us to go out there and take photos, not for me to plaster you all over my Instagram and say, yeah, ooh, look at me. I trained Taylor Swift for 2 years for a 1989 tour. Do I have a photo with her? I trained Leonardo DiCaprio for 4 months for The Wolf of Wall Street. Did I take photos of it? No. Do I talk about my experiences with them? Yes, because it was an incredible experience. when the girls or when the people that I train, i.e. a Candace or Irina or Miranda or Bahati or whatever it may be, a Lily Aldridge, what a wonderful woman she is. I got to train her husband, Caleb, from the Kings of Leon for 6 months. And then when I start talking like this, or I train this woman, Taylor Neeson, congratulations to you. She just had a baby, and she's with Liev Shriver.
Yeah.
I've worked with Liev, I don't know, 50 times, 60 times. Do I take photos with him? No. But does that mean that I've never trained these people? No either. But because I didn't plaster these people all over the Instagram so that I would have 4 or 5 million followers, I still always have to prove myself.
Yeah.
And so now I've come to the realization I don't have to prove myself. I know how good I am at what I do. No one can do what I do. I've been able to do things and get the best bodies in the world. It doesn't matter if you're an everyday executive or an athlete or a model or just, a normal young woman looking to look her best in her body. I've been working with this girl, Becca, for the past, I would say almost 6 months now. And she had a really, really bad herniated disc in her back. And the doctor's like, you got to do surgery. And she called me one day and she's like, listen, I'm not doing surgery. But you think that you can get me back into the shape that I need to? And these are my favorite projects in the world. And 6 months ago, she couldn't move. Like literally, yeah, she could move, but not in the way that she needed to be able to get on planes and trains and cars and, be the model that she is. And I said, listen, you're a superstar. I've called a few people out over the years saying that they're superstars. I trained Kate Upton for 2 years, and when I first trained her for their first Sports Illustrated cover, I said that she was a star, and she became a star. But we also trained 68 out of 69 days for that Sports Illustrated cover. So people that think that she didn't train hard, go look at the first Sports Illustrated cover that she was on, look inside the magazine, look how amazing her body is. I mean, she worked her butt off.
Yeah.
And with Becca, it was the same thing. I was like, you're a star, and we just need you to get back on track, and we need you to get your body into the shape that it needs to. And i.e., 6 months later, her herniation, her disc doesn't hurt anymore. She just signed with Wilhelmina, and she's working 6 days a week, and she's flying right now, and people just don't recognize that I've been given the gift of understanding people's bodies. So I think one of the things that people don't recognize is mental health is such a big thing in today's society, especially during the pandemic. But I don't think it started in the pandemic. I think it started before that. I think that just people didn't really understand who they are, which goes back to the whole conversation of I was saying about the trainers and the training and the Instagram and the social media. Okay, yes, it helps everybody, but it still doesn't teach you about you. And so when I put together a program or I put together a meeting or I do my body analysis where I literally break down the body and watch the way people walk and they move and they sit and they stand and they're prone and supine on the sideline, and I study their injuries, their health conditions, lifestyle deficiencies, their cardio, their blood type, I want to know every aspect of each and every client that I work with, their life.
Yeah.
And the more you know about their life, the better you can train them and teach them and understand them. And that's why I said it's so incredible for me to continue to always have to prove myself, where I know that if I got up in front of 1,500, 2,000 people right now and spoke about everything that I spoke about, people, because I've done it before, people are, wow, you're incredible. And it's not because I'm incredible, it's because I want to learn always more. I'm always looking to learn. I'm always looking to see. I watch every sport under the sun, every sport. Doesn't matter if it's table tennis, badminton, football, basketball, baseball, hockey, soccer, and I study the movement. So I could train any athlete in the world. I can train any person that's sitting at a desk, any woman that's pre and postpartum is one of my favorite things in the world to do, is to really help women who just had a baby or are pregnant, i.e. I'm working with a woman right now, Brittany, who's 8.5 months pregnant. And it's just so much fun. It's so invigorating to start the process and to train them all the way up until they give birth. And you see that giving birth is so much easier once you're in that mode. Another one of my client's sisters I saw here, she had some sciatica pain the other day. I went to her house and they fixed it in an hour, because it was coming from her foot and the way that she's moving and bending and lifting her own baby. She's 6 months pregnant and she has a 1.5-year-old baby that she's lifting. So there's a way to lift your baby. There's a way to place the baby down. There's a way to make sure that when you're pushing the carriage or you're picking up groceries or doing things, there's a way to do these kinds of things. And I've studied it all. And that's what I'm saying. It's difficult sometimes when you're asked to prove yourself all the time in a place where my business shouldn't be about social media. If you look at the people that actually follow me, I probably have the top 0.001% in the world. Because I don't have 7-8 million followers, I'm not good as some of these other trainers. There's nothing to do with that. Do these trainers and do these people even understand the bodies that they're training? You know, how many injuries or health conditions or lifestyle deficiencies come out of these everyday training styles that you see, and people are too scared to admit it or to say it because they don't want to feel embarrassed with their own selves. You know, it's just how much more can you beat down your body? Training, it's all quantity? No, it's quality. It's the quality of the movement, the quality of the understanding of your body. You can train for 15, 20, 30, 40 an hour. It's how you train. So I can train someone, you know, in my platform that's coming out, I have bikini body videos and cracking abs and all these things for the aesthetic part. I have also videos for, you know, longer, more longevity, for cardiovascular, for so forth, and everything's broken down. But you can get in a good shape working out for 15, 20. Everyone's always, I can't do 15 or 20-minute exercises because it's not enough time. Sometimes that's all people have. You know, some people don't have the luxury of not working a 9-to-5 job and having a family that they have to take care of, or having an injury or a health condition that they need to take care of, and they don't have anywhere to go or any exercise to do, or they just, you know, they go and do these crazy classes and then they didn't stretch properly, they didn't warm up properly. The stuff that I give each and every individual is teaching them how to warm up properly, how to exercise properly, how to stretch properly. Stretching is imperative to exercise and not yoga. Yoga is a functional stretch. It's a functional technique, but it's not stretching. So using a foam roller and getting a myofascial release and really understanding that when you warm up, you have to do a functional warm-up before you start your program. And i.e., which all these people, and you know this for yourselves, even if you're not exercising every day, people go to classes and then they go home. You have to stretch before you leave. You know, the more that you're holding on, and this time is tension, and you don't need to stretch because you're going to loosen up all you just did. If you don't stretch, that's where you can't move your legs, you can't move your hips, can't move your body. And when you're 19, 20, 21, your body can roll like this, right? But when you get into your 30s and 40s and more, your body needs that stretching. It needs that warm-up. It needs that love and attention and affection. And, you know, today it's all about aesthetics. Well, aesthetics will come as long as you build the foundation to your body, you know. Being a superstar athlete, you want to know why the Tom Brady's of the world can play until they're 45, or Cristiano Ronaldo? It's because of the way they train. It's they actually understand their bodies and they know what they need to do, you know. But when you're reaching a point where your natural talent is not getting you there anymore, then you really have to work on yourself. And a lot of people are too lazy because they have this idea in their mind that, I don't need that, I can do it this way. No, you can't. And then when they end up injured, Justin, can you help me with this, please? Now you're going to come to me and say that you need the help. So it's like, as I say, you know, training needs to be more professionalized. It needs to be more individualized, even in a group setting. You know, like I said, my method is built for each and every individual, because the steps that you take and the shifts and the rotations and the motions that you take are not the same as others, so it works for everybody. And it's just my passion for what I do. I really want to bring my method to the world so that people really understand that functional movement is something that's the wave of the future. And the more you understand you specifically, whether you're an athlete or a model or executive or an everyday working person or a mom or a dad or whatever it is, that you can be the best that you can be.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about your training and stuff today.
That's what I want to get into. Where can the ordinary everyday Joe who can't get your expertise in person get the JG training program?
So my Instagram is Justin_Gelband, but also my platform is going to be out. So I'm going to be promoting it on Instagram, which is obviously, as you know, is the highway for everybody. I'm going to be trying to come back to Australia and spend some more time here, and I would like to start to really focus doing seminars and speaking engagements and really teaching people about their bodies. You know, I would love to do some sort of world tour, once the platform comes out, because I think it's necessary. I think that people, need to be empowered, need to love themselves, believe in themselves, trust themselves, and know you can start from anywhere. You listening to me, ladies and gentlemen? Anywhere. I really want to start working with more athletes and really teaching them not only the foundation of movement, but how to stay injury-free, pain-free. And it's really hard sometimes when you hear about athletes that are so special and they get back on the field and then they get hurt again and again and again and again. And these are the types of people that I want to help because they're just not being given the love and affection and attention they need in and outside the clubs. And again, I don't like to put down other people's training or training methods, but there's you talk about JG and my platform. There's so many platforms out there that have been inspired by the work that I've done because person worked under me for 2 years or I trained the person for 6 or 7 years. I won't mention names because it's not important. So I would say that I've inspired a lot of people out there in the world, and I want to keep inspiring more, but it's just understanding you. Who are you? The more you understand you and your lifestyle and what you need to do to be your best, that's how you're your best. And it's mental, believe. I didn't believe at one time. That's why I wanted to jump. But you know what? The higher power gave me that second chance. And so now I've taken it and I've used it in a positive way. And I really love and believe and trust in what I do now and understand that I'm a special person and we're all special people and we all have the abilities to be our best. And so I'll end by saying that if you really, really want to create, motivate, and have the desirable body that you want, not just aesthetically, but emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, you really need to sit down and meditate and sit down and think about who you are. Put out a piece of paper and write what your pros and cons are and how you can really motivate yourself by closing your eyes, breathing, and putting it out into the universe. Because the more you believe in you and you push yourself in ways that you may not thought that you can push yourself and really do the nutrition, and really do the cardio, and really focus on you, you can do anything.
Who's the celebrity you've trained the longest?
I would say Candace and Irina. I would count Miranda too. She's probably the longest standing client I have, though she does live in Los Angeles, so I don't get to see her as much, but she's probably the longest standing person that I have in my life.
Who was the most satisfying celebrity to train?
Satisfying. That's not a good question. They're not. Listen, every celebrity satisfies you in a different way. I think that I've worked with so many men and women celebrities, so they both give you a different structure of what you need to make each of them successful in what they do. But I don't think that one stands out more than another. I would say, in the last few years, working with Ryan Seacrest for 4.5 years, it's been an incredible experience. And I don't only call him a client, but I call him a friend. And he's been there for me for a lot. And, I commend somebody like that he's probably one of the hardest working people in the business. I mean, I've never seen somebody work so hard. And not only just in his everyday job, but in the gym, and it's kind of incredible to work with somebody who's just so focused. Every time he comes, he just wants to be his best and get better and better and better. And he is who he is because of that,
Who's a celebrity that kind of gave you your break and helped you crack into the industry?
Oh, I would have to say Miranda.
Who's a celebrity that you look at and go, I want to train them?
Okay, but that's like a hard question, right? Because is it from the modeling world or is it from the celebrity world? If you're including, athletes, I would love to get my hands on just footballers, soccer players, AFL players. I don't want to say one specific because I think it's a team atmosphere and a team game. I just see so many injuries going around. Like I said, I'm a huge Chelsea fan, huge.
Yeah.
And now Reece James is one of my favorite players in the world. He just got back on the field, and I'm praying that he doesn't get hurt. But he was one of the ones that, or Ben Chilwell, who's been out now with a hamstring pull, and a knee injury. And when I see these guys, I just want to call Ben on the phone and be like, buddy, can you just give me a ring? I'll fly out to London tomorrow, and I'll train you for 3-4 months. You'll never have an injury again. It's just so hard because you see so many injuries in sports, and you just want to be there for these people because you know that they're not getting the proper love and affection and attention. I.e., obviously, to work with somebody like a LeBron James or a Stephen Curry would be incredible, but they have their own training regimens and those things that they do. I always said if I would have trained Serena Williams for when she was playing, she probably would have won 35 Grand Slams, and this is nothing against the people that she was working with. I just saw things in her movement that I know that I could have fixed to help her to excel. And then, celebrities is just hard because they're all different, right?
Yeah.
I loved working with Taylor. It was fun. I love working with singers. It's just kind of, they're their own professional athletes when they're on the stage. So it's kind of like you look at these people and you're like, oh yeah, I mean, come on, who wouldn't want to work with Beyonce? But when people reach their peak in their life, sometimes they want to train, sometimes they don't want to train. So it's not easy to give one specific person, because for me, I just love working, and I just have a passion for anybody that's interested in getting to be their best and look their best. I know I'm the man.
Now, you talk about that you can train in a really small space. Where's the most unusual place you've trained? Because it sounds like you've done movie sets, you've done like
Trailers.
On top of mountains.
Really?
Top of a mountain, yeah. I love to hike, and so a couple times in Brazil I went on some hikes, and I've trained some clients like up on a mountain in a really small little area that obviously I did some trailers for my platform that you can see. I was standing on these really awkward rocks, and we went up to this area that kind of had like a ridge, and they're like, oh, well, could you do these exercises and movements here with some of your clients? And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to fall. And they're like, no, but I think we could do it. And we did it. But my method doesn't take a lot. It just takes concentration. It takes really understanding your body, and you really could train in a 4x4 space because you're using 2 steps, slant board, ankle weights, hand weights, ankle bands, discs. I mean, you can add a Bozu in there all the time. You can add a canvas in there. My favorite thing in the whole entire world, which I'm really looking forward to doing later, is Pilates. I literally do Pilates differently than anyone else, especially on a reformer. I think it's kind of funny to watch other people do reformer classes, and they're wondering why they don't get in shape doing it, because it's not just pushing and pulling. It's really going after the actual muscles and really activating the glutes and getting the core structure to work. I know yesterday we were in a little bit of a meeting. They're like, well, could you help me with your core? But does anyone really understand that the core is your stomach, but it's also your hip and your butt and your lower back? So it's all 4 combined. It's like a box. And I don't think people understand that. And so, yeah, I'm going to go do some core training. Yeah, but your core is not just your stomach.
Yeah.
Just please understand that. And when you do understand that, you'll recognize that everything changes. Because if your hip isn't strong and your glute isn't activating, then your hip is going to be weaker, and if your glute isn't activating, then your lower back's going to hurt. And if your stomach isn't strong enough, then the rest of the body is going in that area is going to hurt. And if you don't rotate your pelvis, your hips get tight. So it all works together in unison. So it's not like, yeah, I'm going to do this core training today, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay, but your core training is all 4 areas. It's not just your stomach.
Yeah.
What sort of dad are you, Justin?
So it's always been a dream of mine to have children. My partner and I that I'm with right now, she has, when we started together, she has a 4-year-old daughter, Pietra, and obviously now she's my daughter. And recently, I just had a beautiful, beautiful little boy whose name is Justin Manning Gelband Jr. He's incredible. It's the most incredible experience in my life, and I've been through a lot, and it's really hard to take everything in at one time and really understand that, when you have a real child in your life, and I've had now 2 stepkids, one who I love so much, Yuri, who's from my ex, and Pietra, obviously, but when you have your own child with your own blood, there's there's no words to describe the love and the affection and the attention that you give not only to your child, but that they give to you, because it's unconditional love. So every time I pick up this little boy and I look in his eyes and I hold him and I kiss him and I play with him, and it's just you can't put words, you can't put it into words. And it's always been a dream of mine to have a child, and I don't really need to go backwards after we've just had an incredible podcast. But I've lived through some things, where a couple of women that I with over the years had abortions, and just really destroyed me, and now that I'm finally at that point where I have my beautiful son, I have to say that I thank the higher power, God, every day for giving me this opportunity, for bringing such a beautiful little boy into my life who I love unconditionally. And I'm really hoping that all my love and affection and attention for him, on top of all the exercises and all the stuff that I do, can, I always wanted to be, the last thing I'll say, I always wanted to be a professional athlete in my life. And I played tennis when I was really young, and I was really freaking good. And I was beating people I was 9, 10, 11, beating people that were 16, 17, 18 years old. And I went to Rod Laver's tennis camp and Vitas Garolaitis tennis camp, and I got to go to Balotelli's camp, and, around the time of Sampras and Agassi, and seeing them play and hit, and, not only for a short time, but wanting to go and be them and be there with them, and not getting that opportunity. I never, ever will do that to my son. I want my son to be, doesn't matter what sport he wants to play. I would love him to play golf. I love golf.
Yep.
I love tennis, and I love footy. So one of those three would be great, but I would love him to be a professional athlete, and I'd love him to get that opportunity to at least try. I was robbed that opportunity, and I never would like to do that to them. And I think that's one of the things that, if you watch, oh my God, I know I can talk for hours. If you watch the David Beckham documentary on Netflix,
yeah,
what a man, what a man. Yes, David Beckham, I'm talking about you. What a man, incredible. And the reason why I say that, and then I'm sorry, then we can stop. But the reason why I say that is to watch what this man did. Everybody knows him as this superstar, beautiful, good-looking, modelly guy. Yeah. This guy worked his butt off.
Yeah.
He's such a gentleman. He's such a kind man. And he was hated by his country for getting a red card. Now, can you imagine walking around and, meeting some of your mates that are AFL players or cricket players, and you mess up in the game and you get kicked out, and now your team loses, and your whole country hates you for 2 years? And you got to walk around with people saying that they want to kill you and hurt your family and over sport? That's one thing. I'm literally a diehard football fan. Obviously, I love Brazil, and Brazil's my team, and I will always root for Brazil, and I've always rooted for Brazil since I was a little kid, which is the last story I will tell you. When I was a young kid playing footy, I used to walk around with my Pele shirt all the time, and I got it from my grandfather. And when I was 8 years old, we were at this little party, and my grandparents like, "Oh, you're wearing the shirt again?" I'm like, "You want to know something? One day I'm going to marry a Brazilian, I'm going to have a Brazilian child, and I'm going to speak fluent Portuguese, and I'm going to live in Brazil." And look at where I am today.
Oh, wow.
I was 8 years old when I said that.
Are you fluent in Portuguese?
Yeah, I'm fluent in Portuguese. It took me 10 years to learn the language, and I'm still learning every day.
So, Justin, the podcast is called I Should Have Stayed in Bed. What's your I should have stayed in bed moment in life?
All right, the should have stayed in bed moment for JG. I don't drink. I never really enjoyed alcohol, but definitely mine was in London for the Victoria's Secret show. I had just worked 5 days in a row. I probably got 3 hours of sleep, maybe less each night. As we were getting dressed to go to the party, I was just so frustrated. I was already late. My ex had made me late for the event, and I decided to have myself a Grey Goose on the rocks. And that's literally like 10 years ago. And I went to the event and I just embarrassed myself. And I wasn't, vicious or aggressive. I was just stupid, saying dumb things, making fun of people. Of course, when you're in a place where you're around a bunch of executives and people that you're supposed to be able to carry a conversation with, and you're slurring your words and you're stumbling on yourself and you're walking around and making kind of an ass of yourself, you realize that you should have stayed in bed that day.
We need to wind up, but Justin, you're a great sport, a really genuine human, and I've really enjoyed time with you again this morning. I think today's podcast should be titled, You Give Us Reasons to Get Out of Bed.
No, but you guys give me all reasons to get out of bed. You know, I love what I do, and I love the fact that I've been able to make an impact on a lot of people. And like I said, I love Australia. I think this is a place that I would definitely like to migrate to and be more here. I.e., one of my friends, Nicholas, and another girl that I trained, Julia, they really introduced to the actual, surfing academies and things that you guys have here, and just the sport of surfing and the sport of AFL, which Ray and I have been discussing. I think there's no reason why the AFL cannot be the NFL, you know, and I think it's just visibility. And I think the surfing here, Nicholas is going to open up a surfing academy here, and Julia has been working with me for years, and I would love to get her out here too, because surfing is such a big sport here, but the WSL needs to be more publicized, and I think that Australia is such an incredible place and has such great athletes and sports, and I think that Australia just needs that lift. Where it comes from, we have no idea, but we're going to figure it out, because I would really like the sports here in Australia to be worldwide. And they are worldwide, but even more. Because think about it. Cricket. Think about, you guys won the cricket. I was watching it last night, by the way. It was on TV. It was on TV, and I watched the whole thing, and it was crazy to watch how India was so sad that they lost, because no one could believe it. But I watched the whole thing last night. I love the sport. The sport is really cool. It's got crazy rules, and I'm still learning the rules, so I can't say that I understand all the rules. But wow, why is it that the AFL and cricket, we just need the right person to come in and take the AFL and put it on the map? We need someone to come in. Yes, we know that WSL is famous and the surfers here are famous and so forth, but you got to take those surfers and bring them and make them more publicized and more world known, nationally known. Why can't they show the WSL surfing competitions all over the world on TV and just on your sports package? That's what I'm saying. I was saying to Ray yesterday, I watch the AFL because I go to the bar on Saturday or Sunday and I watch my Chelsea, or I'll watch a Liverpool game or whatever. I love watching football, so I'll watch any teams that are playing, obviously Chelsea being my team. But still, you will have on the screens next to you the AFL, but it's all paid. Like, why can't they have it on NBC? Why can't they have it on CBS? Why can't they have ABC? If you played the AFL on CBS or NBC or one of the Fox actual channels, girl, it would blow up. It would blow up. But they don't get recognized. And I think that just because Australia may be on the tip of the world doesn't mean that they shouldn't be recognized, because the athletes here are insane. And I think that that's where we need to more commercialize what's going on here in Australia. And if I can help to do that, I would love to do that, because I think it's necessary. I think that I would watch cricket if it was on TV, but nobody, I don't want to say cares, but there's got to be more influence. There's no reason why cricket and the AFL can't be on national TV, where they're traveling all over the world and getting the recognition they deserve. So I thank you guys. Thank you all. Incredible. Eu deveria ter ficado na cama. I should have stayed in bed. Last one. This is the last one. Now we're talking about, you'll love this, by the way. Sorry, last little thing. It's on right now? Yeah. Last little thing. One of the biggest presents I have in the world, and I think people know me from two sides. One of my best friends in the whole world was, I should have mentioned before, is Paul Ogenfold. He's a legend. Gave me my start as well in the celebrity world for training. He needed to lose 2 stone. Back in the day, and in 1999, 2000, when I met him off a radio show with Christian B, we trained for 4 months. He lost his 2 stone, and he was the number 1 DJ in the world. And it brings me back to when I was in college, and one of the fraternity brothers, a stupid fraternity that I joined, but it was okay. but one of my fraternity brothers used to work at the wetlands, and we used to go every Thursday night to the wetlands or Friday. And when I tell you that I got the opportunity to see every young band that you can possibly imagine, from Nirvana to Soundgarden to Nine Inch Nails
Oh, wow.
Oh, no way.
Blind Melon, it's so invigorating. So to sit here and look you in the eye and say, yes, I want to go see you play live, because it's just, how Alice in Chains. I mean, and this is in front of 300 people. I remember the night I went to see Nirvana, and I didn't know one word of any song. Quicksand, Korn.
Yeah.
I got to see all these bands live with 300 people when they first started. And you're just like, and like I said, then I started to listen to them all the time. I started listening to Soundgarden, I started listening to Nine Inch Nails and Alice in Chains and Blind Melon, and you're like, wow. And then Nirvana, like to see Nirvana play on stage in front of 250 people, and you're just like, is this so real? Because then what? A few years later, God bless him.
Up.
Yeah, he blew up, and then he passed away, and you're like, wait a second, I was just watching you like 3.5, 4 years ago in the middle of a place that you just started basically your career, or to go and watch Blind Melon or Soundgarden, and then all of a sudden 3 years later you're going to a Soundgarden concert and it's like huge, or Korn. I mean, the Deftones, all these bands I got to see with literally little people, but so rock and roll is one thing I have to say. I always loved concerts, and I went to probably every concert imaginable, from Journey to Jimmy Buffett, Elton John, Billy Joel, and then obviously like all the Eminem and Beyonce and Jay-Z and Justin Timberlake and Justin Bieber. I've seen them all. I think it's yeah. I really made it an effort to, I think that the musical world is something so special, because it really helps us be motivated and really gives us an outlet when we're stressed and we have anxiety. And I think that music is the way to make ourselves feel good. And so I really commend you, and I can't wait to go and listen to you, because for me, the experience of being around all these artists and seeing them, like I said, when I was, training Josh Duhamel, he was, dating Fergie. So,
Yeah, that's right.
and I got the opportunity to go to their wedding, and then you got Kid Rock on stage, he's singing, and then you got Slash playing the drums in the back in front of 300 people? Like, that's you can't even, those are things those are things that you're just like, wow, and there's nothing better than sitting somewhere and watching somebody just do a cappella or just singing, even being around, Adam Levine a couple times when he was playing around, when he was with Bahati, and just not even like singing, but just playing around. It's just, there's something to that, or training Taylor Swift, and a couple times she would just, belt, a couple little verses out there, and it's just, it's a gift. It's a gift, and music is a gift, and music is a gift of God that gave to us to really be able to be our best. And so I know Ray may not love it, but even country music is pretty cool. It's just music is music, and I think that these artists out there, which when you ask me who would I train, I would train any of them, because working with artists and seeing how they need to be on stage and how they are. Like I said, I've been able to do some incredible work with all the people that I've trained already, but just their voice is so necessary. So the more you get that core exercise and breathing exercises and meditation and mind, brain, body connection to movement, you can sing better, you can dance better. One of the things that people laugh at me, they're like, wow, you do really well when you do your exercises and your exercise videos. It's not easy for you to actually talk and do your exercise at the same time, because I'm literally speaking for 15, 20, 30, 40 minutes about the exercise, about the movement, about the counting and whatever, and you're doing the video at the same time. So just imagine these people are getting on stage and they're singing for an hour and a half, and dancing and moving and choreographing and doing all that. It's a talent. It's a talent.
Thanks again, Justin.
Thanks.
Thanks, Justin.
You're good.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers. Eu deveria ter ficado na cama. I should have stayed in bed.
I should have stayed in bed. I should have stayed in bed. I should have stayed in bed. I should have stayed in bed. I should have stayed in bed. I should have stayed in bed.